Hello everyone, this is the Southern Hellenic. I'm back with another video. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing something that is based on my own personal experience of being in the pagan community for close to 30 years. And I have been in the general pagan community for a very long time. And I'm going to tell you how it used to be for all you people that were born in 2001 who does not get any kind of cultural reference in movies or television shows or whatnot. So here's a little bit of nostalgia. So I got involved in the pagan community when I was around 12, 13 years old. And at the time that I first got started in the pagan community, my mother was a lot more open-minded about things like the occult and witchcraft and stuff like that. Because words would pop into her head, or sometimes whole sentences would pop into her head and somebody would repeat them word for word. So I was exposed to the occult and witchcraft at a very young age. And this was, we didn't go to church, which was something that my aunt really got my mother on, got my mother on for that. Of course, this changed as she got older. She wanted to go back to church and stuff like that. So, one of the biggest assumptions that people have on the internet, which should be a crime in itself, is the assumption that you are a Christian. Yeah. So, back in 1992, yes, I do feel old. Back in 1992, I went to a shop called Pathways, which is still around. I was actually shocked they were still around. And back then, you could not go into a shop like that without your parents. The idea was that way, parents would know what their kids were doing and all that type of stuff. Because witchcraft and the religion of Wicca was considered primarily an adult religion, full of adult practitioners, because they still did the skyclad. They still believed in the founding principles that Gerald Gardner set down, and as far as I know of, there was not any LGBTQIA groups and stuff like that. And of course, being gay was not something you wanted people to know. So that was like in 1992. You didn't have gay pride parades. Well, take it back. You did, sort of. I'm not exactly. Well, I'm saying sort of. What I mean by that is you didn't have the big, like, state-by-state gay pride parades. That's what I mean by sort of. Just so people understand where I'm coming from on this, okay? I was raised in the 80s. I went through the 90s, which was such a great time for me, because you didn't have, you really, the internet, in 92, the internet really wasn't there. Yeah, I'm old. I'm old as shit. So, you had, if you were interested in this type of stuff, the only way that you could even get to even see this stuff was by going to your local New Age shop. And if you were a teenager, you really did not know this religion existed prior to the advent of the internet. So, the fact is that my mother, who was a Bible-believing Christian, would take me to a New Age shop and expose me to the occult was very, very eye-opening. So I went there and I picked up my first book to to stir a magic cauldron. Um, no, that wasn't stir a magic cauldron. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. It was. It had a woman with a little kitty on it. And then I discovered that Barnes and Noble, and I'm gonna say this, Walden Books and Dalton Books. I used to go though. I used to go to those places, and even back in the early 2000s, there was still a Dalton's, and there still was a Walden Books for people that were born after 2001. You saw the tail end of the massive retail bookstores. Though they were still around when like Harry Potter came around. I remember going to Walden Books for the last Harry Potter book. I am old. I am old. So so when these chat rooms started forming, you had, I would go into the pagan chat room and I would talk to pagans, and their assumption was I was an adult, even though I wasn't. And of course, you had Christians that would go in there and would try to save our souls, and it was hilarious. It never worked, and everything. So, yeah, so as time progressed on, and you start having things like I remember MySpace, where I would hook up with like all these different pagan groups, and now it's just about music. So you had Facebook, and this is before the emotion emojis came around, where all you had to do was like a post. You could not laugh at somebody, which if you look at it now, it kind of degrades the human brain when all you do is see a laugh emojis and you have no idea what they're freaking laughing about. Yeah. I sort of am a little. I'm sort of really a little pissed off. But the fact is, they laugh at people that are dying from COVID. I don't know what's so funny about people dying from COVID at the age of 7. But apparently we have degraded to the point where 7-year-olds dying of COVID is funny. I do not seem to understand that. And everything. I could do a whole rant about why I can't stand laugh emojis when you deal with 7-year-olds dying of COVID, but I'm not gonna. I could go into it, but I'm not going to go into it. We're doing the assumption here that you're a Christian, just for the fact is that you talk about the fact is that you had your kids taken away from you. But anyways, so I was on the freaking internet, and this also coincides with other assumptions even within the pagan community that just freaking pisses me off, and I do not like assumptions. And the title of this video is going to be assumptions because I'm getting sick and tired of them. And really, okay, everyone, just stop it with the assumptions. So there was this thing on, I don't know if it was like Twitter or I don't know what they call it. I guess it wasn't Twitter because it was on this person's page and all that. So there's this pagan who is a member of the LGBTQAI community, and he's trying to convince pagans to stop using the word broom closet because, oh, this is an attack. This is only for people that are gay. I'm thinking myself, isn't it your? I mean, I hate to break it to your heart, but do you even realize what community you're a part of? So he's going on about how the use of the word broom closet is attacking, is being stolen by the cisgender people. This is before the word cis came around. By the straight people, the straight pagans, and they have no idea how LGBT people are going through who are pagan. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? What type of fucking world do you fucking live in? See, apparently he fails to realize that the reason that a lot of people stay in the broom closet is because not because of shit that he's pouring out, but from shit from outside of the pagan community. And we can still lose our jobs. We can still lose our kids. We can still be freaking targeted by people that believe that thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. It is absolutely stupid to think that only LGBTQI pagans have to worry about this. And I just like, it's just tone deaf. You ever read something somebody wrote and you can tell how tone deaf they are? Yeah, they are fucking tone deaf. I remember back when I was in Pennsylvania. Yeah, I went to Pennsylvania. I lived in Pennsylvania for 2 years. 2 years I lived in Pennsylvania. I lived in like the poor part of Pennsylvania. And I'll tell you something. Living in Pennsylvania was an eye-opening cultural experience that I will never, ever, ever change. You encountered the freaking Amish in Pennsylvania. They were at the freaking bus station. I mean, but great thing about Pennsylvania, they actually have a program. I don't know if it's around anymore. It's been freaking nearly 20 years. But they actually helped you get a car, which was amazing. My mother drove around her car. And I lived in the projects. Okay, I lived in a predominantly black area. Predominantly black area. And I don't know how many white people were actually in the projects, but we were in the projects. I mean, we were in the projects. You could not pull up in a freaking police car without going, yeah, how am I going to get around the barricades? This dang freaking woman who, I don't know what was her issue, but she saw my pinnacle and she fucking lost her fucking shit. I mean, every time I go in there, she would like glare at me like I'd done something wrong. I don't seem to fucking get it. But, you know, Pennsylvania, like, it's the Bible Belt. And it's awesome to be a fucking bigot. And be a discriminatory asshole. Yeah. So I put up with that. And I know from having to put up with that when someone assumes you're a Christian and then they see you walk in with a big old freaking pinnacle or even a small one, and all their assumptions are just destroyed, they kind of either become, oh, okay, or that kind of thing. And Mom was like, I sensed her put her barriers up. Well, she's going to have to fucking learn to live in America. But it amazes me about the assumptions that goes on the internet, on anything. And the assumptions really do, in fact, hurt. And it's assumptions that we as polytheists or as pagans or members of the pagan community, we have to put up with on a daily basis. The Panera Bread thing really does illustrate that. But I was on Facebook a couple years ago. This is before they had the laugh emojis and the other stuff like thank you and you're awesome and all that stuff. And I was commenting on this article, I don't know what it was, and this guy pulls out the assumption card like nobody's business. He's like, yeah, it sounds like you got a persecution complex, you know, all you filthy Christians, and First of all, I know you're an anti-theist if you use the word filthy Christians in the same sentence. Second of all, here's a doozy. I ain't a Christian. So I chose probably the most loaded word you could ever throw at a militant anti-theist. The word witch. I decided, hey, you would be a fucking asshole. I'm going to throw the most loaded word in your face. He did not comment back. It was fucking hilarious. You thought I was a Christian? Oh, funny. It's the assumption. It's like either it's assumption that just because you got a flashy altar, you're automatically a witch, is something I actually had to put up with recently. And trying to educate someone who doesn't want to be educated is a nightmare in itself, and I am not going to mention who it was, and I'm not going to mention where she was at. But it's the assumption. It's the assumption that we're devil worshippers. It's the assumption that, because we live in a predominantly Christian country, that I'm automatically Christian. It's assumptions really are the mother of all fuck-ups. Because you base your behavior on those assumptions, you base your behavior on everything. And, I have been in the pagan community for going on 30 years, and it has just never ceased to amaze me of how much people do the assumption game. And also the thing about it is, also another assumption is and there is some basis in fact on this assumption that if you are a Christian, you're automatically going to try to argue with people. I have encountered Christians who have said, I am not arguing with these freaking idiots because life's too short to argue with people. And I do agree on that. But for people in the pagan community, I don't care if you practice Wicca, you practice witchcraft, you practice Satanism, you practice blah 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 blah. You're going to have the assumption card. And speaking of Satanists, okay, for people that are upset the Church of Satan is demanding you to wear a fucking mask, they're not keeping you. It's not being inclusive. It's just they don't want to die, which I don't blame them. But yeah, so it doesn't matter. And when you go through the experience of assumptions, when you go through the experience of religious discrimination, when you go, especially from your own mother, when you have all of these things that happen, you really one of two things. One, you laugh your ass off at how stupid people are and assuming. And two, you really do prize your religious freedom a lot more than you ever did in your entire life and everything. So I would love to hear from my subscribers if you have ever encountered people and their assumptions of who you are, either as a pagan, as somebody who is LGBTQAI, oh, that wonderful stuff. Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed the Elusia video that I did. That was pre-recorded, if anyone wants to know. The reason for that is my sleep schedule's all freaking messed up, and I just wanted to do that video, get that video out, and but I have not gotten my schedule yet for next week. So if I am off on one of those days, you will get an Elusia video. I do have to double check to make sure that I did not do an Elusia video. If I didn't do one, you will get one. If I did do one, then go back to that video and watch it. Same thing with, I think another one, I think is Tahara. And the one that comes, I think it's Wednesday. Like I said, I don't have my schedule for next week yet. But once it is released, I will know where I'm at as far as videos are concerned. But yeah, my sleep schedule has been totally, totally messed up. And I'm really not a fan of that. That's why I got home and I went to bed at like 5 something in the afternoon. Yeah. But yeah. So I'll see you guys around. Till next time, may you be happy, healthy, most importantly, be safe, and hail to the gods.